everyone, Miss Trenchcoat here, and I've got another book review for you today. And as you can tell from the title of this video, I'm going to be reviewing Miss Peregrin's Home for Peculiar Children. And this is what the book looks like. And it's very rare for me that I've actually picked up like an actual physical book. As you've seen from my last video review of a book, I did have an ebook of my last book. I do tend to read my books in ebook format because I think they're much simpler and obviously it doesn't take up a lot of space. But I was browsing through Barnes & Noble with my husband the other day and I just came to a table and I saw this book, and I know that I've heard a lot about it. A lot of people say it's a good, it was a really good book that came out this year, and it said, New York Times bestseller. And I just, I decided, what, let's just get it. It was only $10.99. So I was like, let me just buy it. It's a really cute cover. So it wouldn't be like a book that I would mind keeping out. So this is something like, I would actually enjoy having because, it has this pretty black and white cover with this strange looking girl, I should say peculiar girl on it, who was levitating. So this book is written by Ransom Riggs. I hope I said that right. I think I did. So this is Miss Peregrin's Home for Peculiar Children. So let me just jump in with my summary of the book, and then I will go into what I thought about the book. So this book was about a boy who basically has this relationship with his grandfather. This just not normal, I would say it was like a very close relationship with his grandfather, who is an immigrant Jew, and they live in Florida. And basically the boy has a very horrible experience in which he basically witnesses his grandfather's death. And the grandfather dies in a really unusual circumstance. So he has a really hard time coming to terms with his grandfather's death and the unusual way that he died, because it really is pretty mysterious. He has one version of the events, and then the authorities and the professionals have another version, which basically renders him like psychologically unstable. So his parents put him in to therapy, and he gets like intensive psychotherapy, and they put him on all the normal drugs for this, that, and the other thing, to kind of treat his illness. But he has obviously been deeply affected. So eventually he comes to the decision with his psychiatrist that in order to kind of overcome his grandfather's death, he is going to take a trip to go visit his grandfather's homeland. Now, it's not where his grandfather was born and raised. I'm not sure if they said that the grandfather was from Germany or Poland. Now that I can't actually remember where the grandfather was originally from, but during World War II, he was sent to live in an island off the coast of Wales, and he lived in a home, which is Miss Peregrin's Home for Peculiar Children. And basically, Jacob has all these stories that he was told by his grandfather, and these odd photographs that his grandfather had left him and his family that he'd shown them, growing up, and told these kind of fantastical stories about the people that he knew and lived with on this island. So Jacob goes with his father to the island for like a 3-week vacation, I think it was. And it's not really a vacation, it's kind of more of like he's going there to learn and be more connected with his grandfather and his grandfather's past. Of course, when he gets there, some unusual things start to happen, and he starts to understand that his grandfather really wasn't lying when he told those fantastical stories. And so it's kind of like an awakening for Jacob. And he ends up finding this school or home for peculiar children, and ends up having to help the children and Miss Peregrine kind of, deal with some issues of some outsiders who are basically trying to completely ruin the school and the home and their lives as they know it. So Jacob actually comes to understand that his grandfather had been also protecting his same friends and, the people he had grown up with. And eventually Jacob learns some very interesting things about himself and his grandfather that he never really knew. So that's as much as I want to say about the plot of the story. I don't want to give anything away. I don't think I said too much. I think that for the most part, that's probably the best summary of the book anyone could give. But I definitely was shocked about this book. Now, I'll be really honest. I did not know anything about this book before I read it. I know I said that I'd heard good things about it. I'd heard, I'd seen it, people talking about it, tweeting about it, putting it on Facebook. But I had never really read a description of the book. I don't think I really read a description, because when I started reading this book, what I thought it was going to be about was not what it was about. But that was good, though. It was still good. This book was very interesting because I thought that it would take place more around these peculiar children. But it was really more a story about self-discovery for Jacob, which was absolutely fine because it was very interesting. And through his journey of self-discovery, you learn bits and pieces about the peculiar children. Another thing that was really interesting about this book is that it is just spotted with all of these pictures. I don't know if you can see them. There's all these pictures. I think they said there's like 50 frames in here of pictures that basically kind of show these unusual children, and some of them are pictures of unusual adults. You can see here these girls are standing like backwards, and here there is a little girl looking into a pond, but her reflection shows two little girls. So yeah, there's all these kind of photos, and at the end of the book, there was actually a description, not a description, but an interview with Ransom Riggs, in which he explains that all of these pictures are actually authentic. Some of them have been slightly modified, I guess maybe to give some effect, and I'm not really sure which ones have been modified, but they said that these are all kind of like original photographs. And I know from studying art history that there was a period of time when photography started taking off and people started taking these kind of odd sorts of pictures, and these are the kind of photos that are in this book. So it was really interesting because nearly every one of the characters had like a photo in here that they kind of used so that you could see them as well as like hear the description of them, which is very interesting. Like for instance, I'm not giving anything away when I show this picture. The levitating girl here on the cover, her name's Olive, and she's actually a character in the book. So this is supposed to be a picture of her. So obviously, this is a work of fiction, but they've used, this medium of photography and really authentic photography from, this has to be turn of the century photography as well. I'm not sure if they actually say anywhere in the book, but they have this really, it kind of gives an authenticity to this book that obviously it could have possibly been true, although obviously we know it's a work of fiction. But this book was really, it was kind of mind-blowing. I actually read this in like one sitting in like a few hours. Like I think I was, just laying in bed for like 4.5, 5 hours, and I finished this book. I just couldn't put it down. It was so good. And like I said, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be about, but that wasn't a bad thing. So yeah, that is what I have to say about Miss Peregrin's Home for Peculiar Children. If this is something you guys think you'd be interested in, you could pick it up at your local bookstore. Like this one is, obviously it's in soft cover now, which is what I like to read. I just find hardcovers way too cumbersome. And it's also available in ebook format. I'm sure that it's on Amazon. I know I sold on Amazon, and I'm pretty sure the iBook store and the Nook store have it as well. So if you're someone who's an ebook reader, I'm sure you'll be able to find a version of this. So yeah, I give this one like definitely 2 thumbs up. I said I wasn't going to do a rating system in the last video. I'm not going to, but this was a very good book. So far all these books, I'm so excited, were actually pretty good. Let's be honest, if I read a bad one, I'm not sure I would actually give you guys a review on it because I wouldn't think it was worth my time. But yeah, so hopefully this is a book that you guys have read or want to read and have picked up. Leave me in the comments if you guys have read this and what you thought about it. I thought it was a very, very clever book. It was really, I was just completely taken aback by it. I thought it was very just, it really just pulled me in. I literally couldn't put the book down. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this review of Miss Peregrin's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.